Hello, everybody. Welcome to the fifth episode of A Place for High Vibrations. This is a series of podcasts where I interview beautiful people like my guest today, people who have a beneficial perspective on the world, who want to help themselves and help the world, and people who are into the spiritual process or the spiritual awakening process, if that matters. Today, I have invited Kate Dinolfo. Kate, say hello, please.
Hello, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. I'm realizing that I must get more creative in a way that I don't have to impress other people, but in a way that reflects my authenticity. That is a good key in order to become creative. So tell us a bit about yourself, please.
Okay, yeah, my pleasure. What would you want to know specifically?
I don't know, maybe where you're from, what your passions are, how you deal with life. Is life hard or easy? Are you what kind of thought processes are you? Maybe I don't know.
Okay, yeah. So I grew up in Illinois, which is a state in the USA. I came from a family that was part of suburbia. I don't know if you know what suburbia is.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But go on,
Okay.
please.
So suburbia, I like to call just like essentially a bubble of a certain socioeconomic class. It's like the middle class, and it's a very conservative place. And I grew up there, living the American dream of, my family, which was you had your children, you put them in the education system, and you sent them off to college in hopes of getting that full-time job, and everyone's happily ever after, right? You create your family, and then the cycle continues.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I feel like I grew up in that kind of situation, in that dream, but it didn't fit me at all. And I was pretty much depressed my entire life. I grew up by the time that I was 8 years old. I
Sorry
had
for interrupting, but
yeah,
you don't really look depressed. How
no,
come?
because I'm not depressed anymore.
Oh,
I
okay.
feel
I'm curious
free.
about how you figured that out, that you don't have to be depressed all the time. But go on, please tell me more about yourself,
Right.
about
I
your
feel like I'm
story.
telling a lot. Yeah, I'll try to like speed up the story at least a little bit.
You
Um,
don't have to. You
but
don't have to.
by the time that I was 8 years old, I didn't really like myself at all. I thought that I was fat and ugly, and I was never really taught how to love myself. But I always journaled. By the time I was in first grade, I was always journaling. So I had records of this and how I felt about myself, and I would hide my thoughts to myself, but whatever. So I've always had self-image issues, and that translated into high school, where I always wanted to impress other people. I never really felt like I had a place in school or whatever. And I was told that I had to go to college, and I was like, okay, like, I wasn't asked if I wanted to go to college. I was just like told, like, you're going to college, and I said okay. And so I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I felt like I was kind of like in a dream state where I was just kind of like floating through life and having people tell me what to do and how to live my life. And I
Oh,
don't
so
know, it was just horrible,
was it
but in
like
the best
people?
way.
Yeah,
Keep
because
going.
in this society, in our family, everybody thinks that they have the answer for us. But the best answer lies within ourselves. We know what we want to do. At the same time, we can take advice, we can accept their opinions. But in my perspective, we all have the capability to create our own realities, to create our own dreams and go for them. So, guys, whatever you are passionate about, go for that. Go for that. And if you feel like, for me, gaining money out of my passion is a bit of a problem, but someone said that if you really want money, focus on doing what you love, because that will eventually bring you money. So tell me, have you gone to college actually? Have you finished your
Yeah,
studies?
I did go to college, and I don't want to undermine the fact that I was blessed like my entire life. Like I'm incredibly grateful that I've never had to worry about anything in my life really that much. That's why it felt like a dream, like I was floating, that everything was being provided for me and told what to do. Like people were just feeding me these things, and I'm very grateful for all of that because each step of the process, everything is as it's meant to be. I have all acceptance and love for my entire life. I just want to say like yeah, it did feel weird that like some people were telling me what to do. And so I went to school. I thought I wanted to study education to be a teacher, but then I ended up feeling like I don't want to be a teacher because I have to sit inside every single day. That freaked me out. And I felt that a teacher should be someone that was wise, intelligent. And the place that I was in college, like I was very immature, very ignorant, not taking care of myself, in mental distress all the time with anxiety and depressive tendencies. And so I was like, am I really going to nurture this like child and within an education system? Like it didn't seem right to me. And so I
Oh,
was visualizing myself as an adventurer. I was like, I'm going to be a wildlife major. Like I had this dream of like being a wildlife photographer for National Geographic. I was like, that's going to be the coolest thing ever. That's what I'm going to do.
wow.
And I thought I was going to travel the world, so on and so forth. And that did not happen whatsoever. But it feels like being in a wildlife degree, though, like I will never ever regret getting that degree, even though I don't have it into action, like as a wildlife biologist, because it taught me everything I know about nature and it restored my connection with the world. And it made me realize what my values were, and my values were to protect the planet and live with the earth in any way that I possibly can. So,
Okay, so
yeah.
regarding to what you said, I think that we don't always get what we want, but we always get what we need. And for me, what I
Yeah.
need right now is inner peace, actually, inner peace and energy, I guess. So the process is coming back to the self, is coming back to questioning yourself, to putting some big questions on your mind, and really asking yourself big questions like, why am I on this earth right now? How can I help the world? Who am I really? And this brings me to the question that are you into the spiritual process? Are you a spiritual being? Because we all are at some level, but are you passionate about these things?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a
Oh,
doubt. I And it's so odd to me because I didn't find my spiritual self until this past March. And since that awakening, I've evolved so rapidly that I don't even recognize myself. Like all of this whole process of going from hating myself, feeling like my mental illnesses controlled me, to getting to a point of higher consciousness where I'm like, oh, I'm in control. I know who I am. I know my purpose. I know my value. I know my mission. I know which direction I need to head in. It's not like I have all the answers, but I trust my intuition and I
wow.
trust whatever movement forward in total acceptance.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect, perfect. So, what do you think? You said that you had a mission, and I guess our mission isn't something specific, or maybe isn't even related to external things, to external realities. But in your opinion, what is the purpose of life, or at least what is the purpose of your own life? What do you think that is? That may be an interesting question that I'm curious about.
Yeah, it always comes back to me having so much self-awareness, knowing myself so much, taking care of myself so much, being so in tune with me that there's not, without a doubt, I have the capabilities to help everyone and anyone that I need to. In knowing ourselves, we can take care of others. It only
Oh,
happens in that way. And so when I
okay.
mean self-awareness, I mean knowing kind of you as the like the physical and the spiritual being that you are. So
Mm,
I know that I brought numerology up to you.
yeah.
And so what for me self-awareness comes down to understanding when I was born on this planet, what that means for me, what my name means for me. The Myers-Briggs personalities test, your astrology and all the moon, sun, star signs, whatever.
Oh,
Like I'm like
okay.
such a sucker for all that information. I'm like, yes, tell me everything about my physical and spiritual being, and so that I have so much self-awareness of my destiny, my soul urge, my personality, my knowledge, my capabilities, like what is my signs and my numbers and my letters and what do they all mean for me on this earth.
Super interesting. So you are passionate about a lot of things. And what you were explaining makes me go to the fact that we should actually be greedy about loving ourselves. We should be
Oh
greedy
yeah.
about loving and creating ourselves. And since my spiritual journey has happened, I realized that I was a bit ignorant. I was so much influenced by the ghetto style, by my maybe some low vibrational people. And I have my idols were not people that were creative, and I realized that sometimes in life throws us some negative moments, some traumas maybe, in order for us to shift our perception, to shift ourselves, and to realize that yes, we are actually more than we think, and everybody here on the planet has its own purpose, their own purpose. And I guess the main purpose of life is being love and being joyful. So yeah, I lost my track of
Yeah,
words.
no, it's okay. I'm gonna pick off
Uh,
of that because this is a topic that I'm very passionate about, and that is understanding what self-love actually is. Like, what is
yeah.
love? And so I came across this realization a few weeks ago that to me, it's not so much as self-love, but self-trust, trusting yourself. There's too many people that I meet that regret things that they've done, and they're like, oh, I wish it was a different way. And so then they don't trust themselves to make the right decision to move in a certain direction. They don't follow their intuition. They don't think that they're good enough because they
Mm,
have this trait of association of enough. They don't value themselves. And so in that, how are you supposed to conceptualize love?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it doesn't make
It's
sense. And
hard.
so
It's hard.
yeah.
So do you think that do you have this self growth ability within us? Do you think that it is something natural for all of us, or maybe
Yeah.
some people are? It's yeah. I think the same actually. I think that everybody has everything that they need within themselves.
Yeah.
So here comes the idea of meditation, of creating, or observing your thoughts. I have a question. Do you meditate?
Yeah, I meditate several times a day. Like I think that it's completely necessary because
Okay.
that's when you start to trust yourself is when you give yourself that space to learn
Yeah.
about yourself.
And another question would be, how could we connect to that creative part of ourselves, to that higher being of us? How do you do it? What are the tactics that you use? What are the skills that you use, maybe? How do you connect back to that?
So I always am following detachment, and with that, I slow down a lot and realize that, okay, so for instance, right when I wake up in the morning, the best routine that I've found for myself is to say, okay, what am I going to do for myself right when I wake up in the morning? And I give myself, since I wake up in the morning, whatever time that feels good for me, I sit in silence for an hour. Where I am right now, I
Wow.
have to listen to delta waves because there's a lot of construction going on around me. But
Okay.
I listen to delta waves and I have them on my big earphones just blasting in my ear. I sit with some tea and I close my eyes and allow myself to get into a higher consciousness. And for me, like a lot of that does include, I'll be honest, like just a little bit of marijuana. It does help me get
Okay.
into a state, the present moment. To me, it is a tool in order to feel grounded and get within myself and recognize that nothing else in the world matters right now besides me giving myself this time and space, because
Okay.
we always try to rush through life, always trying to
Yeah.
get to our phones as quickly as possible, talk to people as quickly as possible, connect,
Yeah.
view,
Exactly.
always trying to engage and we don't disengage. And so I try to give myself that time, like at least 2 hours a day, to find
Oh.
my, yeah.
Wow. So what you're saying is that the first thing in the morning that you do is super important. And you mentioned marijuana. I wonder, have you had other maybe psychedelic experiences or other drug experiences? Because I've had a lot, and I realized that yes, drugs can help you until a certain point. Do you know Alan Watts? Okay, he said that a psychedelic trip can open your level towards spirituality and maybe enlightenment until 7 steps out of 10. The rest of the 3 steps have to be done naturally. So, yeah, I guess psychedelics and marijuana can help, but if you do it not with the intention of raising your consciousness, then you are getting addicted to it and it might influence you in negative ways. And I think a lot of people are doing this only to get high, only to run from their emotions, only to not accept maybe even the negative emotions. And I realized you said you had marijuana. I have sometimes cigarettes. And yes, I have smoked not that much lately, but I realized that I went through traumas, and traumas actually lead to addictions. And I believe that in getting rid of a trauma, we must learn to also accept that pain that is within. But
Hmm.
I'm not saying don't use drugs, but I'm saying do it with the intention of raising your consciousness. So the question then becomes if you had any psychedelic experiences, because I see people are being interested in this topic.
Right. And I like that you bring that up because it's not like I'm encouraging people to go do drugs. It's like it's all just like a personal experience for
Okay,
you if you
okay,
find yourself in the realm of doing it. Because I agree with you is that okay, so going back to just marijuana in general, it's just like I've always been aware that it's a very self-reflective drug. And
it
that's when
is,
people get a
it
lot of
is.
anxiety. Yeah. So when people smoke and they're getting a lot of anxiety, it's because, and they don't like marijuana as a result, it's because it's bringing up these thoughts that they need to be sorting through. And they panic because they don't want to sort through them and they don't like the feeling of all of it coming up. And so then they don't sit with it and then they
Yeah,
never figure it
it
out.
happened to me to get bad trips out of certain drugs. It happened, and I realized that I'm not sure if you know Koi Fresco. He's a YouTuber.
I don't know.
Okay,
No.
that's okay. He said that you should stop calling it a bad trip. Maybe you should call a trip that you can learn from. So I guess that bad trip, because I really believe that any experience can be a positive experience the moment that you learn to shift your perception towards it. So if you are having a bad trip or a trip that reflects anxiety, just change your perception towards it and really accept that panic attack, because if you run from a panic attack, you only make it worse. And I'm not saying I'm an expert of accepting the pain, because I have found myself in moments when I had to run from the pain, but I realized that going through that all that negative stuff makes you stronger and wiser and really leads you to another level of consciousness.
Yes, definitely, without a doubt. And it's, I want to move forward into what you were saying about the psychedelics because I
Yeah.
understand that they can give greater clarity to you, and there's such like that people think there's such thing as a bad trip, but you know it's all them just being in their mind. I've only done something like that once at a music festival, and it was a very eye-awakening experience. Like I'll always remember that moment for me. But besides that, I've done like microdoses of
Oh,
mushrooms,
oh,
and I've never gotten to the point of like seeing visions, but I had an elated state to myself, and I felt like a lot of energy, and it was a very positive experience for me. And I would be interested in, you know, whatever. Like I'm interested in learning more about it. I haven't done much research into it, but I just watched a video right before this, and so that's probably why this topic came up because it's like
maybe,
everything
maybe.
in synchronicity, right?
Yeah, everything is happening in divine timing, but go on.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's kind of only my experience with it, but I understand that it does help people spiritually in a positive sense. So yes.
Okay, okay. I have a question that is not related to our podcast today. Sorry, people, for having this little interruption. But can we record a Zoom call in three people? I was wondering if Anthony would want to join someday, so we can do
Okay.
a Zoom three people call. Do you think it works?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And I really liked the way that this conversation has gone so far. You are flowing really well. It looks like you have done this for the rest of your life, having interviews and podcasts. Well played so far. What next? What we said that we we said that we had a free talk. What do you think that the world should do in order for people to be more kind?
Be more kind.
Yeah.
That's just people getting in tune with themselves and their natural state of mind and separating themselves from toxicity as well. Um, I, you like, I want to go back to this old life that I had back in California. So I was a server back then, a waitress, a bartender, whatever definition that you use. And
Okay.
I found that people in those environments could be very toxic without them knowing it. They would complain a lot about their lives. They would talk about other people. They would talk behind other people's backs, and it made me feel very uncomfortable. It was a very toxic situation. But then I remembered that a lot of them aren't, they're doing it because they don't feel good about themselves. They don't feel like
They
they're
don't feel
reassured.
enough. They don't really feel enough. But yeah, go go on there.
So when I realized that, I actually I've read this book at least 8 times, and I have to tell you, it's the best book I've ever read in terms of treating other people and finding peace and serenity within relationships. And it's so funny. It was a book that was written in the 1980s that my friend found for me in a thrift store. She picked it up and she was like, Kate, I think you would really like this book. And I said, okay. So a 99-cent book, all right. She hands it to me, and it ends up being like one of my Bibles. So I say like I carry a really set, like I carry 5 books with me at all times, and they're like my Bibles, like it's things that I live by. And this book for 99 cents from a thrift store, teaching me how to teach other people, has been one of those books for me. And so I recommend that book to be kinder to people because in,
Uh,
yeah,
what's the
that's,
name of the book? And do you have it around yourself? Could you read some chapters for us now, maybe, if you have it, some interesting things?
yeah, let me
Uh,
grab it.
okay, let's do that.
Okay. So
Okay.
it is called Understanding and
Eliminating
Limiting
stress.
Stress
Yeah.
and Finding Serenity in Life and Relationships by Jane Nelson.
Okay. If you have
Yeah.
some parts that you want to read for us, it would be awesome.
Okay, well, let's talk about like what topics. It was just like treating other people with getting to know people, I guess, is something that it would. So basically, I the book is about
Or don't you
understanding.
don't have to read anything. Just tell us a bit about the book.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Okay,
Okay,
so it's
perfect.
about finding understanding in yourself and other people and accepting everything. So getting in terms of like understanding separate realities is something where you have to come to in order to show kind and compassion to other people. So
What's it called?
um,
Separate realities?
yeah, like
It's
understanding your separate reality. Like I have my life and you have your life, and I have
oh,
no
okay.
reason to judge you within your reality or tell you how to live or give off an opinion that you need to do things for me and live for me. Like give everything to me because you have your life and I have mine. Um, you know what I mean? Like people are so
Yeah.
quick to tell other people how to live and to judge them when they could just accept them for whoever they are within their reality.
Wow, that's very important. And I think that people are doing that because I think that however you treat another person is reflecting how you are actually treating yourself. So someone said that the moment that I stop judging other people, I have also stopped judging myself. And I think that's super important. So your
Yeah,
point of attention first should be yourself. You shouldn't judge other people, in my opinion. You shouldn't compare yourself to other people. Okay.
right. And you shouldn't expect the world to revolve around you either. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's not about you, it's about them. Like anytime we take things personally, it's we're thinking that it's about us, but it's never about us. It's what about other people are going through and what their life the situation is like. And so yeah, and something that I know this is a topic where people are like, well, there's nothing to forgive, you always move on. And I know a lot of people that refuse to forgive people within their lives, and they can't find understanding and perspective around individuals within their life. They're like, well, this person did me wrong and for so many years, and they were the reason for this and this, and they like put so much blame and they play the victim. And it's like, what purpose does that serve you? Like, you're just carrying this bad energy with you all the time and remembering the pain that they did to you, and you're just holding it to you, and it's so heavy. It's like, just let it go, release it. And when you forgive that person and show them unconditional love and see their situation with a new pair of eyes of where they're coming from, then you're just like, okay, all is well. Like, it was no big deal. Like, I accept and I move on.
Perfect,
I
perfect.
think
So
that's huge too.
yeah, so I guess our job as let's call ourselves superhumans. No, I'm kidding. Our job as not supermans, but as higher vibrational, or maybe people who have a good intention, is not to judge people, even if they are doing that, if they are acting in a negative way. Because I myself have acted in negative ways sometimes, and I realized that there is nothing to judge about that. There is only things to learn from that. Okay,
Yeah.
Kate. So let's change the what's it called? Okay, I don't have the word.
Okay.
Give me 5 seconds. I wanna make you ask me a question, because I have been the one who has asked questions. Now it's your turn to ask me one question or two. Anything
Okay.
is welcomed.
Anything is welcomed.
Yeah.
Okay. So would you say that right now you are in a place of trusting yourself and your path?
92% yes, 5% I don't have enough energy, 2% or what is left, I'm a bit scared. But
Okay.
yes, I trust, and I
You,
feel that my senses are growing sharper. I feel my intuition is getting smoother, and as a creative being, I'm trying to find more ways to express myself, to create myself, and the main purpose would be to help the world. Yeah. So the answer to your question is actually yes. I trust myself.
okay.
I love myself. I feel good most of the time, and if there is something negative to accept about myself, is that I have to accept the negative.
Yeah, do you think that's like a theme for your life?
To accept the negative.
Yeah, like I feel like sometimes we're programmed with themes for our lives as children of things that are programmed within us that we just constantly have to be releasing our whole lives. And so do you think
Uh,
that's something?
we are told only about the positive. We are taught only about love, which is a good thing. But in our structure as humans, and even maybe as spiritual beings, there is this play of the negative as well. So it's not always about being positive. I realize that sometimes I have emotional blockages, and
Okay.
sometimes I might operate from ego, or sometimes I think that my friends are not good, maybe, but they are good, they are perfect, or maybe my perception towards them is not what it takes. But what was I saying? um, what's the question again? Yeah, we have to accept the negative. We do have to accept
Accepting
the
the
negative.
negative.
Yeah,
So
accepting the
like,
negative.
you think that, are you mad at yourself then because you are doing these things, or like accepting the negative and saying that like whatever you think is a disconnected way to live within society, seeing that in other people makes you uncomfortable? Do you get where I'm coming
Yeah, sometimes I realize that not everybody is operating at the same level of consciousness that I am. And in the past, I was operating at a lower level of consciousness. And today, I still see some people who are low vibrational. And I realize that I absorb in a way that energy, but there is nothing to judge about them. It is only myself that is still resonating with their toxicity, let's say. But it's not my job to change them. It's not my job to make them untoxic. It's my job to make me not resonate with that toxicity again. But
from? Okay.
it's in a way, it's, don't think as a big or super negative toxicity, because my friends are cool. I love them so much. But I realized that I have changed. I have changed, and in a way, I want to change them with me. And I think that is not the way to go. I don't have to change them with me. I have to accept them. So when you change, it feels like you want to change everybody. It feels like you want to change everybody, and everybody to know that you are operating from higher vibration. I think that is also part of the ego, but I have to love people with where they are and who they are, and it's not my job to change them. It's my job to set maybe an example, to change myself first, and they can smell that, they can feel that, and they will rise higher. And I love my friends so much. By the way, we spent a lot of great times together. But I realize that sometimes, and even I sometimes with my friends get low vibrational, but it's we're having fun with that sometimes, yeah, but nothing to judge. So I love you,
Yeah.
friends. I love you, friends.
I'm sure they feel your love, okay? And you're coming to an important part of it though, where you're saying that like us being in our higher vibration and like being in a lower vibration as well, because um there's two. You have to understand that, like I told you, you're a master 11 number, and so you have two different life paths where you have a 2 and 11. And so it's common for those types of numbers to be um, like having this low vibrational life where we succumb to all of the things in society that lower your vibration, and it's only this like freak universal of like happenings that like are like, holy crap, why did this happen to me, this is so traumatizing, that forces us to become the higher consciousness being. And so it's
Yes,
always in the divine timing of it all. And so
yes,
it's like it's in those moments though we realize, oh my gosh, I want to help myself.
yeah,
And when people don't have those freak occurrences within their lives, and they don't have like that moment of not getting knocked down on their ass and being like, okay, shoot, like I'm tired of being miserable, like this is not where I want to be anymore, only then can people start to raise their vibration. And so it's just about you being a consistent entity, a consistent light in this regard. And you're right, like always taking care of yourself. And so when these moments hit them where they're like, oh my gosh, I'm ready, they'll know who to go to because you are there to support them as this higher vibrational entity, essentially.
what a beautiful perspective you had on this. Thank you. Wow.
Mhm.
So you think that they will again, it's not my job to change them. It is my job to change myself, and send them the light that they need. And actually, my friends are on the right track. They are getting creative. We are laughing. We are having fun. But sometimes I feel that something is missing. And I know it's not their fault. It's nobody's fault, actually. Maybe it might be my fault because I am trying to make them operate from a different perspective. But I guess that might be my ego who would try to change people. Okay, so we had an amazing interview so far. I didn't expect this, actually. You're an amazing person, Kate. Thank you for being. Okay, I'm being honest. You don't have to. Okay, you can
It's
laugh,
just
actually.
me. I don't know. Just
Okay,
appreciate you.
you are really smart, and you are a person who resonates with me a lot. And you said that when you were a kid you thought you were ugly. You are so beautiful, actually.
Thank you.
um, you're welcome.
Okay. Yes,
uh,
bless your
uh,
heart.
Thank you. Do you have anything to say for the people who are watching this? You can salute them, or something like this.
Okay, yes. I give everyone who is listening to this message permission to slow down, to
Yeah.
disconnect from the world around them, to give themselves space and silence, just to chill out away from everything. I give you permission. Yeah.
Okay, she gives us permission. You are some sort of superhuman, right? Who gives people permission.
I just think that everyone's trying to work so hard that because everyone's telling them they need to work harder, they need to work harder, and so I'm giving them permission to do the opposite, is to just sit down and find yourself. slow down, find who you are. And when you find out who you are and your purpose and who you are in a higher consciousness, then you can start to put the action forth. Then you can take the next step. But don't just work
Perfect.
in a blinded mind. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. So when you think of creating something, think about, or don't think so much, just go for it, but also have a more general perspective about it, because we are getting, sometimes we are getting so much stuck in the details, in the fact that I can't do that, it's too complicated. Just start and realize that if you're getting more general about your desires, I think, will come easier to you. Okay, anything else that you want to say? Any other topic? Um,
Well, I could just like elaborate a little bit more on that specifically in terms of like everyone feels like there's a million things for them to do. Like I work with a lot of people that have their own online businesses and they feel like they have 100 things to do in a day. They're overwhelmed by all the information coming to them all at once because if you understand, like we have videos, we have podcasts, we have books, we have masterminds, we have like all this information coming to us at once. And I know I'm not alone and it's not just online entrepreneurs in general, but when that happens, we get so overwhelmed that we just don't do anything at all and nothing productive. We're just kind of going through the motions of things. And so that's why meditation and slowing down is so important because you sit there in silence and then you find the space between your thoughts and you ask your subconscious, you ask your higher consciousness. It's like, okay, what's actually next? Like, what do I actually need to be doing in order to move myself forward, in order to expand? Like, what feels best to do? That one thing that feels best to do. And sometimes it's not even about our business. Sometimes it's about going and taking a walk or doing a little bit of stretching. And so that's just where I'm coming from in all of this is that you need to find that space between the thoughts, get in touch with the present moment. And then when the next thought comes up, trust that thought and head in that direction because that's the path of alignment. That's the path of being in synchronicity of who you actually are.
wow, perfect. So slow down. That's what you are saying. Okay, thank you,
Mm-hmm.
Kate.
Yeah,
I actually
that's
had
it.
an amazing experience today with you.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I actually didn't expect this to work this good. It was
Why?
perfect. I don't know. I don't know. I just didn't expect it. You're really smart. You're really smart, and thank you for your beautiful perspective. And beautiful.
Definitely.
Okay, guys, thank you for watching. This was the fifth episode of A Place for High Vibration. We had an amazing interview. Yeah, people can't see you when I'm speaking, so try to speak something and do the signs so they can see you.
Oh, okay. All right,
Okay,
sounds good.
perfect,
All right.
perfect. Thank you
Thank
guys
you
for
so much for
watching.
having me. I had such a great experience. I feel so enlightened.
Wow, wow. And maybe let's keep chatting on Facebook, and maybe we will collaborate sometimes in the future again.
Definitely. Sending you all my good energy and love.
Perfect. Thank you,
Thanks so
Kate, and have a great day. Ciao, guys.
Okay, goodbye.